been a while since you've seen it.
Me or the car?
The car.
Well, that too. It's back. It needs a few upgrades before this year's race season.
This is very true. And speaking of this year's race season, it's May 20th for the first event, which is Tuner Bash, I believe. And that's in like 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something like that. I'm not very good at that.
Tuner Bash is the first one?
Tuner Bash, yeah.
Oh, okay, nice.
So last year we had an issue with this car where we were trying to get on the two-step at 3,700 RPM. It ended up taking like, I don't know, 47 years. Transmission didn't like it, transmission got hot. Good thing we got the giant cooler in the front, but this year we need to solve that problem so we can increase where our two-step is so we can leave on more power.
How are we doing that?
This.
Dang.
Dang. Circle D, specialties, torque converter.
Oh.
Swag pack. Look at that.
Thanks for the shirt. Is this one for me?
Yes, it is.
Are they the same size? No, definitely not.
That big D.
Yeah.
Big D energy. They even gave us the hardware with it. That's really nice.
They wouldn't give you hardware with it otherwise? Like this?
I don't know. I'm not even sure I bought a brand new torque converter before, so.
Oh, you've always bought a second-hand one?
Yeah.
Well then.
Oh, that's the unit right there. This is like the first time I've seen it, but this looks like a billet backing plate on this one. And they've got the holes, so like, depending on where you put it in the flywheel, different distances.
Oh?
But that's
a
really nice.
Is that supposed to be a thing?
I don't know. Yeah, basically you call them up, you tell them which car you have, like which power plant, how much power it makes, the camshaft in it, the rear gear, how fast you want to go, what does it do. They put all that into whatever wizardry they have, and then they build you the perfect torque converter. So 9 chances out of 9.3, this thing's gonna work perfect.
I hope so. I think I paid a lot of money for it too, so let's hope so.
First things first, we're gonna get this jacked up.
There's rubber.
Look at all that rubber.
Look at all that. It's not actually that much probably, but. I'm so excited for this race season. I was gonna say next race season, but I'm, what?
You were so way tilted.
Listen, I'm just tilty, okay? I'm tilty in the brain. That's how I see things.
So you're excited for this race season?
I am excited for this race.
6 Summer is actually coming up in like 1 month.
We're taking which cars? Your auto Mustang?
Yeah, my SN95 and then this one.
These one.
So we're gonna make sure everything's good. Like I kind of want to redo the exhaust on this thing and I kind of don't, but I want to redo some of the cooling to make it better, the fans to make it better. So there's definitely a dozen and one little things that I want to do to make this thing better. And we're gonna start with the torque converter. So now that we've got it in the air, we'll start disconnecting the drive shaft, the exhaust, the transmission cooler lines, all the bolts on the transmission, and then finally get it out. So we can slide the new converter in, bolt it back up.
Yay,
and
sounds like fun.
It should only take like 20 minutes.
There's a wheel off. Kyle's checking something with the dial indicator. Tell me what's going on there, bubby.
So what I think I want to do, because we have a vibration in this car, it's probably hard for me to, because we have a vibration in this car somewhere, I want to see if the runout on this axle is bent at the end, because I did, like this is the rear end that did hit the wall in my New Edge Mustang once upon a time ago.
A few years ago.
And I never did check the runout, and I think it might be our problem.
I'm just a little surprised that you didn't check it before putting it in my car, to be honest. Like, you knew that when you hit the wall, it was enough to crack the body of your engine.
But I hit the front. I didn't think I hit the rear. And the only thing that makes me suspect that I hit the rear is Colby actually, like the wheel that I was borrowing that was on the SN, or the New Edge.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like something else that was on the rear end was also defective that was checked after the fact.
Yes.
Sometimes you've got to say please.
Belch it out, lady.
Sometimes you've got to say, hey, I'm gonna you softly. I'm gonna screw you gently.
Gina's pulling the drive shaft out right now. So Gina's pulling stuff from the cooling system. We're gonna redo that while we wait for another drive shaft to come in. So we're just gonna redo the cooling system. I mainly wanna get this hose right here that's on the return side to go into the side of the radiator instead of the front of it, so that we can put air filters back on the turbos, because overall it's gonna help make your engine survive longer. Yay. So we're gonna get rid of that tank. That tank was never like permanently mounted. It was just like a
We're
test
getting
tank.
rid of it, or you're just...
No, I'm gonna rebuild another nicer tank on the other side.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna replace that tank with something over here behind that turbo. Essentially, yeah. Well, we're gonna get rid of that one on the...
This?
Yeah.
You're getting rid of that one too?
Yep.
Remember how that one would like spurt,
psst. Yeah, like 10 feet in the air out of that little top hole.
When it was overheating.
When it was overheating, boiling over, yeah. I
You'd be
remember.
like, watch out, watch your face.
Oh my God. Gina's got everything stripped out of this thing.
It's not me.
Little handy woman here. She's got all the coolant stuff ripped out of this thing. She's taking the wiring out for the fans now, because we're gonna redo that as well. We had to stage them in. So these are contour fans, and last year we had them so they both kicked on at the exact same time. And when you do that, it actually pulls the motor down. And if you're at an idle, it'll actually kill the car, like make it turn off. So we're gonna redo that so they're stage fans now, and then redo the cooling system at the same time, tuck away some wires, just make it look a lot better, because last year we really thrashed to get this thing done and Tokyo's car done, that some stuff was done half-assed. And usually you're like, oh, I'm just gonna leave a half-ass for a while, and then most times it just stays that way, but we want it better.
Well, I'm about to lose a nut.
You're about to nut?
I'm about to lose a nut.
I'm about to lose a nut too. You keep bending over like that.
It's gone.
It's okay. I've lost more than one like that.
Like, I think it went in between. I tried so hard to save it.
Where did that nut go? I don't know. It's gone.
It went inside, so I feel like they call that a cream pie.
You cream pied it.
Tell me about it.
Here she blows.
There it is. Wow, look at it.
Look at all them chickens.
Look at all those chickens.
This is the part that we need to replace right here. So yeah, this is your Circle D converter, and this was just like a Summit shelf converter for a nitrous application that, you know, some people said it might work, some people said it might work. So we put it in there, and it didn't work that well for our combo. It's just a little bit too tight. This one's gonna go in. This one is spec'd for the car. Should be 100 times better.
I hope so. What were some things we were talking about that we were hoping for improvement, like the putting it into first and how it like slams into motion, basically?
Yeah, so basically it was so tight that when you put it in first gear, it would like,
it would
give you
slam,
whiplash.
yeah.
Yeah. And then the shift drop, when you shift at 7,000 RPM, I don't remember what it drops to, but it drops like 2,000 RPM. You want to tighten that up so it's a little bit looser, so the drop's on like 1,000 RPM.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna pull this tail housing thing off as well to see if that's worn out or anything.
Where it connects to the drive shaft?
Yeah, and then we'll clean it up, put that converter in it, get the stuff back in there. But I think we've decided that we're going to leave the drive shaft out of it, get another drive shaft made for it. And that's how we pulled all the cooling components out of it. So while we're waiting for that drive shaft, we can do all the cooling stuff in it. We're also gonna put a set of 308 gears in it instead of 373s, which ultimately will make it slower in the quarter mile, but will give us a lot better highway cruising, which this car needs because it's already too fast for itself in the quarter mile. And then we have an anti-roll bar to go in this thing as well, which we gotta put that on. And that's gonna stop the car. So if you watch the videos from last year, the car would do this going down the track.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is eliminate that, and it'll give us a better launch and keep this car stable down the track.
What does it do instead? Instead of like twisting a little bit, will it just like squat more?
It'll either squat or it'll lift up on both sides.
Oh, okay.
So the idea is to get anti-squat in these cars, and essentially what anti-squat does is when you leave the line, the suspension, instead of squatting down, it actually separates. And just because the geometry of how it pivots on the mounts on the body,
Okay.
And what that does is it drives the tire into the track and gives you more traction than if you were to just squat the car backwards. Now that all the hard work is done and it's out of the car, I'll let you do some stuff now.
Okay. Can I have a stock? I
Did you get the socket jammed in there?
Yeah. I'll get it, but...
If you had to get one car right now, what would it be?
Like, no restrictions, no nothing?
No restrictions, no nothing.
I'd get my Porsche. I'd get my Porsche Cayenne.
That GT3 we've seen in the jelly bean color?
Yeah. The jelly bean color.
This one right here?
What?
This one right here?
Oh, you're probably gonna put a clip in?
Yeah.
That one I really liked. It's probably not my ideal color, like if that was in yellow.
So yellow.
Like a smiley
GT3?
face yellow. Oh my god. Yes, that's what I would get.
I'll take a yellow R8 as well.
A yellow R8?
Yeah, yellow or like a blue or something. Jelly. It's got to be jelly bean color.
Jelly bean color. Yeah.
You don't pay like $250,000 for a car and then have it to be like gray or black.
People do though, and
I know.
I get it. Like people don't want to be flashy, but you literally just spent all that money, and it looks way better in a bright color, anyways. Like a little dinky car. That's what it reminds me of. Dinky cars.
Dinkies. That's what we call Hot Wheels, by the way, in Canada. Dinkies.
Wait, other people don't call them.
They
dinkies?
probably don't call them dinkies.
Really? It's weird that you don't call them dinkies.
So there's a bronze bushing in there that's probably forked if it was...
If it was wobbly in there, definitely.
Yeah. And then this, I don't know if this is supposed to wobble too, but I think it is. I think that the drive shaft and that bearing is what centers that piece. This piece.
Oh? Okay.
All right, it's the next day. Gina's actually inside getting her stuff ready for the Calgary Comic-Con, which we're going to this weekend because she's huge into cosplay and everything. I'm going to toss this torque converter in here and get a transmission up in place just so it's not taking up spot on the floor. James said we can go ahead and throw the transmission in. We're just going to have to replace this bearing here because it did wobble a lot. That yoke was actually the right size on the outside dimensions, but we ordered a new one that's probably this short compared to how long this one was. And then on the rear, we actually ordered the flange style yoke. So instead of a bolt-on one, it's just one that pops into the U-joints. It looks like this. I got it from Strange. So when we do the rear gears, I'm gonna put that in as well. And then we'll have the center to center length and we'll get a custom drive shaft made for this thing. I'm also going to redesign the exhaust in this. I ordered a dual 3-inch to 3.5-inch merge. And I'll tell you why I'm gonna redo the exhaust system. We're gonna use this box for convenience right here. So the rear axle is somewhere in this area right here on the car. And obviously the dual exhaust goes around, up and over the axle on both sides. The problem being on the passenger side, our surge tank is actually mounted back here somewhere. And the distance between this side of the exhaust and the surge tank in some spots is like quarter, maybe half an inch. And then on top of that, all our fuel lines run down this side of the chassis of the car and our power wires. So to get away from the heat, what I'd like to do is take our rear axle and I'd like to run where our 3-inch exhaust exits right here up near the front where the transmission is and the engine, transmission. I'd like to take it and I'd like to take this side and run it down that side and take this one and run it down this side and then merge these two together. Put one big exhaust here, one big muffler, sorry. So it'll be 3-inch here, 3-inch here, 3.5-inch out, up and over on this side of the car. And then it's just gonna be one tip on the outside, but it's gonna be on the driver's side. And that leaves all our fuel system over here unaffected by the heat. I don't see this car ever needing more than about 700 horsepower ever. So I think 3.5 inches is gonna do it. And I just, like I said, I need to tuck that exhaust up, build it custom out of stainless because it's mild steel right now, and get it away from the heat. Enough talking. Let's shove this converter in there. Before you shove the converter in, you're gonna wanna put a bit of oil in it. This one's already got oil in it, a lot actually. There's actually 2 splines that have to line up in the converter and this piece right here that hooks into the pump itself. So kind of just put it in there and start spinning and moving. And honestly, I think that was it. Usually it's much harder than that, oddly enough. Also gonna spray down this junk a little bit. Stupid thing, back up in place. Now we're kind of waiting for parts there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the 2 rear tires off, get all that exhaust junk out from back there, and then possibly start putting the sway bar in because it really needs the rear sway bar. I'm trying to get a good spot for this. You can see right there, that's our surge tank right here. This is the exhaust. When it's actually bolted up, it hangs like here, but that's how close it is to that. Here's all our wiring and stuff that runs along the frame rails. There's some fuel lines and stuff, so it'd be nice to get rid of this pipe and put it on the other side. So we're gonna get this out. So we'll get that out of there. It's kind of disappointing to destruct something you put some time into, but half-ass means twice as much work when you go full-ass the next time. This is another reason I hate exhaust kits. Anytime you put one of these style clamps on something, you basically just squish the 2 pipes together and then it still leaks and then it never comes apart. So now I've got to sawzall it apart and basically ruin this exhaust that I was never gonna use again anyways, but sure. You know what, with enough hammer beating, I'm sure I could get it off. We're not gonna play that game. I have no use for mild steel pipe, so. And just like that, junk. I bet you Peg would love that though. He'd be like all over that. Smile. Yeah, we're going to look at like rental apartments. Investing.
Trying to, anyways.
There's nothing like crazy about them, but they're spacious. They have obviously, you know, your own laundry unit, 2 bedrooms.
Sorry I didn't leave you with any context there. We're looking at our first rental property. We've been like looking at investing since we had more money coming in. It's just like the first step to accumulating more money, I guess. It's really funny though, because my favorite part in any video game is like accumulating wealth. Whatever game it is, like build your character, accumulate wealth. And I don't know why, that's just what I was addicted to when I was younger. I used to play old school RuneScape all the time. My favorite thing was just like build wealth. Don't even care about killing any bosses or doing quests or whatever. I just wanted to be rich. And I don't know, I've never taken it into the real world. But it should be easy considering all the information you have online nowadays and everyone's done it before and they're willing to help out. Makes sense. So, we're gonna be the weirdest millionaires in the world. But it's okay. Man, look at all that wiring.
Jesus, goddamn Canadian wiring is wrecking my freaking sperm count!
And here's Geena's sway bar. This thing kind of just fits in the back of the car there. This goes on the frame rail, you weld that in. It's a welding unit, and then you gotta weld in little pieces on the axle. And what happens is when the axle goes up, normally it can go up like this, or like this with no sway bar. But when you put the sway bar in there, when this side goes up on the axle, what happens is this side wants to go up, and it wants to push this side up at the same time, so everything goes up evenly. I didn't even consider the surge tank being in the way of the sway bar, but it is. So when this goes up, it's going to hit the surge tank. This surge tank has been proving to be such a pain in the ass ever since I installed it. I'm not dealing with that right now because I have to move the surge tank and I have to do this and that. I just don't want to deal with it right now. What I'm gonna do is do something where I don't have to get dirty. We're gonna mount our Black Sheep Industries 50mm blow-off valve, which I should have mounted last year, considering I'm part owner of the company. So if you guys want to get yourself a nice, brand new, awesome blow-off valve, blacksheepindustries.ca, you're gonna get an amazing quality part that isn't going to break the bank. And to top it off, our amazingly designed flanges make it so the valve can never fail and go inside your engine. Because we've had this before, where we've seen valves come out of the blow-off valve, be able to fit through the flange and go into your intake, and you know what? It's not good for your valves, which means that a $200-300 part can ruin your whatever you paid for your engine, sometimes upwards of $40,000. So just a safety we built into our flanges. It's super thick, like a 1/4 inch, so when you go to weld it, it's not gonna warp anything. And yeah, just an awesome quality part. blacksheepindustries.ca. And I forgot the most important part. It looks good and it sounds good. You'd be silly to go with anything else. And we're just gonna see where we can fit this essentially. Play-Doh, but we got tin foil. Ooh, it's not much clearance there. It's basically gonna have to go exactly like that. If there's one skill you should learn to make this car hobby cheaper, it's welding. One Black Sheep Industries flange welded on there, right thick and nice and juicy. And then we also added a intake air temp sensor because we didn't have one of those before. Oh man, does that ever look mint. What we really need to do now is get the coolant so it goes underneath, so we can put like a little bend here with an air filter, a little bend here with an air filter, just so it all like mirrors up after. We should get this powder coated, that powder coated, a black alternator, that one powder coated too, maybe the valve covers, and then it'll look sick, I think. Oh, can't wait for it to go. And there's our bung. So I kind of tucked it back there so the sensor's gonna fit out here, and then the wiring just goes back. The reason we didn't put it on is because I had to extend the wiring. It's all the way back here somewhere. That's it for this one. If you guys are watching this and you're in the Calgary area, we're going to be at the Calgary Expo if you want to come see us. Peace easy, get heavy.